Hello everyone, my name is Prince Verma, and in this session, we shall be talking about the important national parks and the wildlife sanctuaries that have been seen in the newspaper in the past 2 3 years. You know that we have been running the series for environment ecology based on the current developments. So, in this session, let's begin with the national parks and the sanctuaries that were seen in the newspaper. So, without further wasting time, let's talk about the first news that we want to talk. So, first one is related to a report. So, this is a report of 2022 which was released by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And this report is related to the management effectiveness evaluation. So, that is why it is referred to as MIZOO report. So, this management effective evaluation of zoos across the countries were taken out. And in this report, it has been highlighted that there are nearly, there are to be exact 147 zoos in the country which have been recognized. But roughly, you should know that there are nearly 150 zoo in the country, nearly to be exact 147, which have been categorized into three groups: the large size, the medium size, and the smaller ones. So, these are the different categories of the recognized zoos in the country, which are 147 in number. And basically, this report is trying to evaluate the effectiveness, is trying to evaluate the effectiveness with respect to the management of these zoological parks. So, let's see the factual information that is there over here. Could be important for the prelims examination. There have been questions related to match the following. So, such questions which are a bit found to be tricky, that you wonder that from where these facts have been asked. So, they might be related to the such current developments. So, we need not to know the size of the committee. All those things are not that much important. You should know the important zoo that was in the news and the area they belong to, the state they belong to. That is the one type of question that we are expecting from this. With respect to the report, you should know that this report has been released by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. That is another thing. If at all they go for the statement based question. So, the top performers have been named. So, obviously, you need not to know that in what category they are the top performers, but you should know that those zoological parks are located in some state. So, you should know those states, not all the 150 zoological parks, but yes, the important ones, the top performers you should know. So, this Vandalur Zoo, it is in Chennai. Chennai obviously is not a state, the state is Tamil Nadu. So this is among the top performer in three category. Again, we are not going into in which category it is the top performer. You should only know that it is uh, a zoo which was seen in the news with respect to some management evaluation, and wherein it was performing very well. If at all you want to remember some fact, remember these six parameters, these six elements based on which this management evaluation has been done. So, first is context, second is planning, then inputs, then process, output, and outcomes. So, these six elements have been taken into consideration for evaluating different zoological parks. So, first in the category is the Vandalur, which is in Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Then let's know about certain other names. This one is Padmaja Naidu Himalayan Zoological National Park. Again, Zoological Park. It is in West Bengal. So again, just remember the name of the zoological park and where the state where it is located. And then Top performer in context element or context parameter is Alipur Zoological National Park. This Alipur Zoological National Park is in Calcutta. Calcutta means West Bengal. Yes. And then National Zoological Park. This one is in Delhi, New Delhi. And then Nawab and Wazid Ali Shah, it is in Lucknow. Lucknow in UP. So again, remember them, just the states and the important names. And how do we figure out that these are the important names? Because they are top performance in performers in certain category. Then again, I told you Vandalur Zoo. It is in uh, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Padmaza, we have already discussed West Bengal. Then Kanpur, as the name suggests, it is in Kanpur, UP. Mysore, it is in Karnataka. Yes. So accordingly, we should know the important uh, geological parks that were there in the news. At least remember these 6, 7 names, with their respective states. The most probable question I'm expecting from here is the match the following based one. Then this Arignar is nothing but the Vandalur Zoo. So the same one is renamed, another name it has, Arignar Anna Zoological Park. Okay, so this was the first news. Now moving to another very important national park. This national park, if you remember, we discussed when we were talking about the wildlife called rhinos. I told you that Kaziranga National Park hosts nearly 90% of the total rhinos in India. So this is a national park that you cannot afford to forget, whether it remains in news or not. But this is very important national park. If at all, every now and then, this national park remains in news for the fact that it is flooded every year. You know, Brahmaputra river flows in Assam Valley, and this national park is situated in Assam Valley on the bank of Brahmaputra river. So when Brahmaputra floods, inundates, this national park is flooded every year. So at least for that reason, it remains in news. So for national parks like this, you should not look for the news. It should be on your fingertip. Anyway, let's see why it was in the news. So presently, it was in the news for the fact that, see, these rhinos which are found here, their horns have been collected by the state, by the National Park Committee, and their horns have been burnt. And after burning, they collected some 128 kilograms of horns, burned ashes. So those burnt ashes were used for the construction of the statues of rhinos. So basically, 3 rhino statue has been created in this national park from the burnt ashes of the horns of the rhinos. So for that reason, it was in the news. So why 3 rhinos? One male, one female, and one calf. So three has been created. 3 statues has been created from the burnt ashes of the horns. So that is why in the news. So again, all these things, memorials have been made from the ashes collected from rhino horns in Kaziranga National Park. Obviously, this park is in Assam. They are having 3 rhino sculptures aboard of the unicorns. They have been named as aboard of the unicorns. It has the male rhino, female, all those things we have already discussed. Then rhino statues were created using ashes. These things we have already discussed. There were around 2,500 rhino horns that were burnt, and some 128 kilogram of ash were obtained after burning these horns. Right? So, if you can remember, they were created by a sculptor whose name is Bizu Das. So, this could be an important question for the some state level examinations. Okay. Then the forest guards have been, their statues have also been created, but do remember they are not made up of the ashes of the horns. Okay, then let's know about something about Kaziranga National Park. So Kaziranga National Parks hosts the largest population of greater one horn rhino. That I have already told you that around 90% of the rhinos of the country are found in Kaziranga National Park. Then it is situated at the edge of eastern Himalayan biodiversity. If you know the map of India, so this part is the Himalayan range. This eastern side of Himalayan range is called Eastern Himalayan Biodiversity Hotspot. So we have entire reason to be biodiversity hotspot. So this part is Eastern Biodiversity Hotspot, and this part is Western Biodiversity Hotspot. So it is located in Eastern Himalayan Biodiversity Hotspot, right? So basically it is located somewhere here, not here, over here. So this is the Assam Valley, over here somewhere it is located. Then it is declared as the UNESCO World Heritage Site as well. Not year is not important, but you should know that it has been declared World Heritage Site by UNESCO way back, some 40 years back, you know. So, and then according to the latest rhino report, the national parks host nearly 2600 rhinos. Okay, then moving further, there is one more news related to the protected areas which is of transboundary nature. Transboundary means they have some part in one country and some part in the other country. So all those protected areas which has partially been located in two or the more countries, so that is called transboundary as the name itself suggests. So basically an agreement has been signed between India and Nepal regarding this transboundary protected areas. So Indian government and Nepal government has agreed to protect certain biodiversity rich regions through this agreement. So you should know that if you look at the map of India, let's draw this map again. So this country is Nepal. Obviously, this country is India, and this country is Nepal. So basically, these two countries are over here and over here sharing boundary. And in this zone, there are some biodiversity rich protected areas. So all these protected areas, because they are spread across Nepal as well as India, so they require international agreement between these two countries, and that agreement has been renamed as transboundary protected areas. So this area, this area is named as Tarai Arc landscape. So basically, this Tarai Arc landscape includes the southern part of Nepal and the northern part of UP, Bihar, and some eastern part of Uttarakhand as well. So this is representing the Tarai Arc landscape. So over here, this transboundary protected area agreement has been signed between India and Nepal. There is another sacred Himalayan landscape. So this part, which is the northeastern part of Nepal, then Sikkim part of India, and the western part of Bhutan. This country is Bhutan, if you know. So if I use the different color, this country is Bhutan, and in between is Sikkim part. This part is Sikkim of India, and obviously, this entire part is the sacred Himalayan landscape, which is part of Nepal, Sikkim, and Bhutan. Right? So, over here also there is a transboundary protected area agreement. And Kanchenjunga Conservation Area is lying over here, the western part of Sikkim and the northeastern part of Nepal. Is that okay? So these three geographical areas where this transboundary protected area agreement has been signed between India and Nepal. So this will play a significant role in conserving and protecting the wildlife, the biodiversity which is found in this area, because there are certain wildlife which rotate between these two parts. So that is why they require efforts from both the countries. So that is why just read about it. There could be a question related to the location of these three, and all those arguments could be there. Yes, so they are mainly, if you look at these areas, mainly tiger uh, tiger corridors. So that is why major target is to protect the wildlife called tiger. Okay, then coming to another news which is related to Khubsugul Lake, which has been declared as national park. So, not national park, this Khubsgul Lake is a national park, and it is under now the reserve list of UNESCO. So, first thing that sometimes UPSC frames a question based on the important water bodies or the lakes or the ponds that are in the news, that where it is situated. So, first thing you should know that it is in Mongolia. This lake, which is obviously also a national park, it is situated in Mongolia. So, if you know, Mongolia is sandwich. Mongolia is basically sandwiched between Russia. On the northern side, it is Russia, and on the southern side, it is China. So, this part is China, this part is Russia, and in between, this is Mongolia. So, over here, this national park, this Tupsugul Lake National Park, is situated. So now it has been given the tag of World Network of Biosphere Reserves. Do remember that these biosphere reserves are also present in India, and these biosphere reserves are recognized under a UNESCO program called Man and Biosphere Program of UNESCO. Okay, so this has been given the has been made the part of World Network of Biosphere Reserves. Okay, what does it do? So this decision was taken during 34th session of ICC. So again, this ICC is the important decision, the main decision making body of UNESCO's Man and Biosphere Program, which was launched way back in 1970s, and this body is the main body, main decision making body, which meets every 2 years. Okay, so just remember this fact that this is a program of Man and Biosphere Program, is a program of UNESCO, launched way back in 1970s, and this ICC, International Coordinating Council, meets every 2 years, once in 2 years. Okay, and this is the main decision making body of this program. So in that meeting, 34th session, which held in Paris, it was held in Paris in 2022, and this national park has been made the part of the World Network of Biosphere Reserves. Okay, so the primary aim of this program is to establish a scientific basis for enhancing relationship between the people and the environment. So basically, it is trying to ensure the sustainable utilization of the different protected areas, be it national park, be it anything, right? Be it any kind of protected area. So this is situated between northern Mongolia, province of Khubsgul. Not all those things are important. It holds nearly 70% of fresh water of Mongolia. So this is very important, that it is an important source of fresh water for Mongolia. And you should also know that there is a nearby lake in Russia, which is very famous lake called Lake Baikal. So it should be, yes, this lake. This lake is Lake Baikal in Russia, which is obviously, if you the diagram that I drew over here, somewhere here is Lake Baikal. Okay, so just remember these two lakes. These are the important lakes, could be a direct question in the prelims examination. Then let's understand about this world network of biosphere reserves. I told you that this is part of this world network of biosphere reserves is part of the program Man and Biosphere Reserve, Man and Biosphere program of UNESCO, and it is an internationally designated protected areas as biosphere reserves. These reserves are meant to demonstrate balanced relationship between nature and the people, basically ensuring the sustainable utilization of these protected areas. They are created under Man and Biosphere program, as I already told you. They comprise of dynamic interactive network of sites to foster harmonious integration of people and nature to attain the sustainable development, right? So other than this, the thing that you should know, that in India, talking about the biosphere reserves of India, India has total 18 biosphere reserves. In all, India has 18 biosphere reserves. And if you know the structure of the biosphere reserves, they are divided into three concentric layers. So the innermost layer is called core. The outside core is the buffer zone, and the third layer is called transition zone. So this is a large area which is declared as biosphere reserve under Man and Biosphere program of UNESCO. So in India also 18 such biosphere reserves have been declared. In core, you should know that only scientific research activities are allowed. So this core can be used for educational purposes. And then coming to buffer zone, in buffer zone, tourism is allowed. Some kind of habitation of the traditional dwellers is allowed. And in transition zone is basically a zone wherein sustainable economic activities such as agricultural practices along with the habitation is allowed. So it has the highest degree of protection, then relatively lesser degree of protection in buffer zone, and then least degree of protection in transition zone. So this is how a biosphere reserve structure looks like. Okay, and then I told you that there are total 18 biosphere reserves in India, which have been declared again under this program. And out of these 18 biosphere reserves, 12 are part of World Network of Biosphere Reserves. So, out of the 18, only 12 are the part of the World Network of Biosphere Reserves. Okay, then, and the latest one, the 12th one to be added is in 2020, Panna National Park is the latest addition into the World Network of Biosphere Reserves of UNESCO. So at least read about Panna National Parks in detail. We'll have some time discussion about it, but for now, let's look at the important biosphere reserves. All the 18 biosphere reserves, again, remember them from the perspective that they could be asked in match the following type questions. Okay, so starting from the Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh region, this is Ladakh region. This Ladakh region, look at this is cold desert. Sorry, this Ladakh region, we have this Cold desert is in Himachal Pradesh. I'm sorry. This cold desert is in Himachal Pradesh, and then Nanda Devi is in Uttarakhand. This marking is wrong. Uttarakhand is here, and Himachal Pradesh is here. There is some problem in this marking. So, cold desert in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Nanda Devi. Then in Gujarat, this one. So, this Gujarat is Kutch, and Panna, as I told you, the latest edition is in MP. This is Panna. Panchmadi is also in MP. So again, then Amarkantak again at the border of MP and Chhattisgarh, part of Chhattisgarh, and then Nilgiri in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka. So basically, you should know that Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve is at the tri-junction of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. So over here, this is the location of Nilgiri. Okay. Anyway, so Agastha Malai is in Kerala, Gulf of Mannar is in Tamil Nadu, Great Nicobar, Andaman and Nicobar, Seshachalam is in Andhra Pradesh, Simplifal, Odisha, Sundarban, famous Sundarban Delta, West Bengal, Nokrik is in Meghalaya, Dihang Dibang, Arunachal Pradesh. These are also the tributaries of Brahmaputra river. Dibru Saikhowa, if you remember during Rhino discussion, I showed you the map of Dibru Saikhowa, Kaziranga, Orang National Park, and Manas National Park. So again, this Dibru Saikhowa is part of Man and Biosphere program as well. And then in Assam, again, there is one Manas. So these are the 18 biosphere reserves in India. Do remember them from the perspective that they could be asked in the match the following type questions. Then let's talk about some other news related to the protected areas. New reserves and wildlife sanctuaries of Maharashtra have been listed. So again, it was in the news that 12 conservation reserves and 3 wildlife sanctuaries have been recently given the approval by the State Board of Wildlife of Maharashtra to be included into as the to be included into um, protected areas under Wildlife Protection Act. So you should know that there is an important act, it keeps on coming every now and then. Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Do not forget about this act. So this act basically designates 5 type of protected areas. So under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, 5 categories of protected areas are designated. The first is the national parks. Second is tiger reserves, wildlife sanctuaries, then community reserves, and fifth is the last is conservation reserves. So only these 5 type of protected areas are recognized under Wildlife Protection Act. So do remember that Biosphere Reserve is not designated under Wildlife Protection Act. Only these 5. This has been already asked in UPSC, will be asked again. So again, you should remember that 5 type of protected areas Wildlife Act 1972 talks about. Just write it down. And under this act, these 12 conservation reserves and 3 wildlife sanctuaries in Maharashtra have been given the approval. So basically, it requires approval first from the State Board of Wildlife. You should know that under this act only, there are 2 types of board for wildlife. one at national level and one at state level. So, national level board is called National Board for Wildlife, and state level board is called State Board for Wildlife. This one is headed by the Prime Minister of the country, and this State Wildlife Board is headed by the Chief Minister of the country. Do remember these facts for the prelims examination. And so basically, the approval has been given by the State Board Wildlife, and now it has been given the designation of the respective protected area, the conservation reserve as well as the wildlife sanctuary. So let's just see the names. These are the names that you cannot remember everything, but at least have a look. Write them once so that if at all you get a question, you are in position to figure it out. So there are some conservation reserves. Again, there are 12 conservation reserves. The name is given Chivati Bauri, Aladar, Alaldari, Kalwan, Muragad. So these are the different names. Just read the names: Bhor in Pune, Raigad and Roha in Raigad district. So just look at the names which you feel you can remember, just write them up. Otherwise, you can leave this portion because it is difficult to recall. Problem is that it is difficult to recall. Then, but at least remember this part, the wildlife sanctuaries. So, extension of Lonar Wildlife Sanctuary. Lonar Wildlife Sanctuary in Maharashtra, it has been extended. Then, Kola Marka in Gadchiroli. Again, just remember Kola Marka, and then Muktai Bhavani in Jalgaon. So these three at least remember, if not the conservation reserves. Wildlife sanctuaries are important. Also, more important than these facts, that they have been designated under the uh, Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, and in order to designate these protected areas, first the approval of the State Wildlife Board comes up, and then later on the final approval comes from the National Board for Wildlife. Okay, so it is written why consent of Wildlife Board is required. So it is mandated under the Wildlife Protection Act. So as I told you that it is mandated under the Wildlife Protection Act to have the consent of the state, and then the areas are declared as the protected areas by the national board. Okay, so till date 15 conservation reserves were notified in Maharashtra. With the addition of these 12, now the number has risen to 27. Again, these numbers, exact numbers, does not make much sense, but you should have a rough idea that there is nearly 25 to 30 conservation reserves in Maharashtra. You should know that Maharashtra is a coastal state. So again, that is rich in biodiversity. So that is the reason that they have a large number of conservation reserves. So what is the challenge? Obviously, there would be protest by the local stakeholders. So there is opposition from the stakeholders, the local residents, because once it is declared as some protected area, certain activities are prohibited. So, because of that, since people have been residing there, at times they are relocated to other areas. So, the local population, the other stakeholders resort to protest and opposition. So, that is the challenge in notifying any area as the protected area. Okay. Then coming to another national park, Madhav National Park. First thing, that Madhav National Park is in Madhya Pradesh. First thing, that it is in MP, Madhya Pradesh, central state of India. So over here, 60 years after the tigers are being reintroduced to Madhya Pradesh National Park, Madhav National Park. So this was in the news for the reintroduction of the tigers in Madhav National Park. Before I move further, with respect to Madhav National Park, do remember that MP has large number of national parks. Some 9 national parks are there in Madhya Pradesh. So remember Madhav National Park, Panna National Park. If you remember, I told you that Panna is the latest addition in Biosphere World Network of Biosphere Reserves. Then do remember Sanjay National Park. There is one Sanjay Gandhi National Park. It is in Maharashtra. This Sanjay National Park is in MP. So do not get confused. Sanjay Gandhi is in Maharashtra. Sanjay is over here in MP. Then Bandhavgarh National Park, Kanha National Park, Pench National Park, Satpura National Park. Remember them. They are the famous ones. At least know that they are part of the state called Madhya Pradesh. Again, Madhya Pradesh, where Vindhya range passes through, which is again rich in biodiversity, Vindhya range. So that is why large number of national parks, wildlife sanctuaries are there in the state. Then coming to the Madhav National Park, its location is in Shivpuri district. Not that much important unless you are targeting for PCS of Madhya Pradesh. If you are targeting for UPSC, this district has no role for you, but you should know that this is in the state of Madhya Pradesh. It was the hunting ground of Mughal emperors and Maharaja of Gwalior. Obviously, these were the people who used to reside there and they had their empire expanded there. So it was their hunting ground. These emperors have the uh, strange fond of hunting the wildlife. So that is why it was the hunting ground. Ecosystem, obviously, Vindhya Tiger Reserve, Vindhya Mountain Range. It has deciduous forest and thorny forest. Thorny forests are found in the areas where rainfall is less. So in this area, if you look at this, so the the northern part of the uh, Vindhya mountain range receives relatively lesser rainfall. This part receives relatively lesser rainfall. So that is why there are thorny forest as well. It is a tiger corridor. See, you should know that in this area in Rajasthan there is a tiger reserve called Ranthambore. So Ranthambore, then over here there is Kuno Wildlife Sanctuary in MP only. So this entire area is a tiger corridor. So it is part of Ranthambore. Ranthambore is in Rajasthan, tiger reserve, also a national park. Kuno is in Madhya Pradesh and Madhav already in Madhya Pradesh. So it is part of that tiger corridor. Okay. Then it is home to a very important PVTZ. PVTZ stands for particularly vulnerable tribal groups. So you should know that these PVTZs are a subcategory in the scheduled tribes. So in those scheduled tribes, there are total 75 PVTGs, and one of the PVTG is Saharia. It should be written as Saharia, which is found in Madhav National Park. They are more backward than even the scheduled tribes. So that is why they are said to be particularly vulnerable. So when they were named for the first time in 1970s, if you have heard of a commission called Dhebar Commission, so in 1970s a commission was constituted called Dhebar Commission, which identified these PVTGs. Then in 1970s it was called primitive tribal groups. Later on in 2006 the name was changed to PVTGs. So in all total we have 75 PVTGs recognized by the government of India, and out of that one PVTG is Saharia, which is found in Madhya Pradesh. This could be a question if they ask a question related to Madhav National Park. Okay, then moving further. So they're more backward, PVTGs, they're more backward than even the known tribal groups. So they practice, if you have heard of something called a jhoom cultivation, that burn and slash and burn cultivation, जिसको बोलते हैं हम लोग. right? So that is practiced by these PVTGs. Their technology is pre-agricultural technology. Okay. Then there is another wildlife sanctuary seen in the news. Very important, Kaveri South Wildlife Sanctuary. So first have a look. These are the important ones recently added in Tamil Nadu. So just read their names again, match the following type questions could be there. UPSC has started asking questions like this. So first thing that know all these names and know that they are found in they are located in Tamil Nadu state. They have been recently added. So first is Kaveri South Wildlife Sanctuary. You see, it is in the northwestern part of Tamil Nadu. This one. Then Kaju Valley Bird Sanctuary over here. This one at least remember Dugong Conservation Reserve. We'll talk about Dugong wildlife in our discussion sometime. It is a very important wildlife, dugong. So it is the first conservation reserve. The Dugong Conservation Reserve is the first dugong related conservation reserve in the country. So it is in Tamil Nadu. Anyway, so this one is also one of its kind. This slender loris sanctuary. We'll talk about this in the subsequent news. This was also in the news. So slender loris sanctuary. It is the only one sanctuary pertaining to the preservation of the slender loris, which is a nocturnal wildlife. We'll talk about that. So just remember these. And now let's have some reading about the particular South Kaveri South Wildlife Sanctuary. It was notified and it will help in the movement of the elephants. So you should know that this wildlife sanctuary lies in the elephant corridor. So this is very important for the protection and the conservation of the elephants and their habitat as well as their corridor. Yes. So you should know that southern India is home of large number of elephants. So most of the wildlife sanctuaries and the national parks in South India, including in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, they have been mainly created to protect the elephant corridors, their habitat. Okay, so this wildlife sanctuary was notified recently by the state government of Tamil Nadu. State government had earlier notified many other, which is written already there. So Kaju Beli Bird Sanctuary, then this bird sanctuary, then this Kadavur, then Dugong one. So all these are the important ones to remember the names. It also creates further continuity in Nilgiri Biosphere Reserves. So you need to have a look at the map. See, this is broadly the map of India. So this part is Kerala. This part is Kerala. And over here there is Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. So look, this is in continuity with the biosphere reserve called Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, which I already showed you in the previous slides. So it is in continuation with the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserves and many other, nearby. Just remember Nilgiri Biosphere Reserves. The area or reserve forest of Krishnagiri and Dharmpuri, these are the important smaller hills found in this area. Then this will be the 17th wildlife sanctuary in Tamil Nadu. That is what I told you. That these all areas are rich in biodiversity because of being the coastal state. Second thing, they receive huge amount of rainfall. So that is why again uh, they are close to the equator. So sunlight is abundantly available. So that is why they have large number of protected areas recognized by the government. So this is the 17th wildlife sanctuary in the state, the Tamil Nadu state. These numbers are not important. You should not learn these things. You can remember that this host Leith soft shell turtles, if you remember, we discussed about the turtles and the tortoise. So this is, I told you that this leaf soft cells were endemic to peninsular India. So see, these are the areas where they are found. Okay, so what is the significance? Again, significance would be that they are the protected areas for wildlife in the Kaveri river basins. So again, the all those wildlife which are dependent on the Kaveri river for water, they'll, once this area is protected, so they'll receive the they'll meet their water requirement. So look at this. Kaveri basin critical for the protection of riverine species, like which are those riverine species? The squirrels, the antelopes, the lesser fish, eagles, all these are typical riverine species. And once this area has been declared as the wildlife sanctuary, that would be protected, and accordingly these species will also be protected along with the biodiversity of that area. Okay, then as I told you that this slender lorish sanctuary, it is the first slender lorish sanctuary in the country. So Tamil Nadu notified India's first slender lorish sanctuary. We already discussed this is present in central part of the state. Yes, and as I told you that the wildlife sanctuaries are declared under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. The government has notified this sanctuary. Let's talk about this wildlife, slender loris, because it is not seen much in the newspaper, not read in static portion of the syllabus. So let's have some idea so that if at all they try to figure out a question here, we have some idea about it. So they are the small nocturnal mammals. First thing, they are nocturnal. They are arboreal, matlab they are found on the trees. They are arboreal, they are nocturnal. They act as biological predators of pests in the agricultural crops. So basically, they eat away the pests that are found in the crops, in the agricultural crops. So they're useful for the agricultural crops. They are native to India and Sri Lanka. They are also found in Africa as well. They are found in tropical forest, shrub forest, semi-deciduous and swamps. So this is the ecosystem where they are found. You know, the tropical forest, shrubs, semi-deciduous forest and swamps. So they are found in large or varied ecosystems. Yes, their IUCN status C. First thing you should know that this slender loris is of two types. One is red loris and one is gray one. So this red slender loris is an endangered category, and this gray slender loris is in near threatened category. So just remember these two types and their IUCN status. Under sites, they are put under Appendix 2. In all the previous discussions, I have discussed in detail about the sites, the different types of indices, the three indices, what are the differences between those three indices, when the sites was formed, all those things we have discussed. If you have not seen those videos, have a look. They are present in the uh, we in the, I think, the video section if you go at the playlist. And then Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, they are preserved, which is given the highest degree of protection. You know, in this they are given the highest degree of protection. In Appendix 2 of CITES, which is an intergovernmental agreement at the international level, under this the international trade is allowed but in a controlled manner, in a regulated manner. Then India's first dugong, as I already told you, that there is one other news that India's first dugong conservation reserve in Tamil Nadu, in Parkway. Parkway, if you know, this is Tamil Nadu, this part is Parkway. Yes? So over here there is a dugong conservation reserve. somewhere here Dugong Conservation Reserve is there. Okay, so this would be all for the day. See you in the next video with some other uh, important current updates. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great time.